Good morning and welcome back to Focus Today. And we have a special guest. You may have seen Cory Murphy here once before, but it's been about a year since you've been here, right?
Yes.
You're with the College Authority, or you are the College Authority.
I am it.
You are it.
I am.
We are talking to the College Authority. The questions that you have about going to college and from a financial standpoint mostly, right? Mm-hmm. That's what you address. Tell us, the College Authority, what is it that you as a College Authority do with parents and kids?
Mm-hmm. We work with college-bound high school students on everything academic and financial. So that may be from test prep and career search to choosing the right college for them and navigating the financial pieces of it, need-based aid and merit-based aid.
So do you have parents and the kids saying, hey, little Johnny wants to go to college, but we don't know which one?
Exactly.
Is that kind of it?
That might be it. Or we know that we want to go to this school, but here's our tax return and all our financial documents, and we don't know how to make sense of it to get the most amount of scholarships that we can and the most help and know how to pay the difference.
So you've got an inside track on financial aid that might be available?
Yes, we do.
Is there a lot of it out there now?
It depends on what kind you're looking for. Most of the need-based aid is going to be loans from the federal government. So if we don't qualify for need-based aid, that's not such a bad thing because loans, there's a lot of press right now on how loans are getting out of hand.
Yeah, isn't it? And let me just stop you there. Isn't the number around like $13,000 the average? Is that the right figure I heard?
A student right now, when they finish 4 years of school, will finish with a $27,000 note.
$27,000.
If they use the full federal loans for 4 years. So there's a number of factors that go into that. Kids need to get in and get out in 4 years to keep their costs down. Yeah. They need to get out and get a job so
Not
that
the
they
Animal
can pay
House,
those
like
loans.
I'm a senior for my 8th year kind of a thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So we teach a lot around that and work with the families to make sure that the students are focused and on track and they understand.
What do you suppose is the biggest misconception with parents, let's say, when it comes to financial aid and college expenses?
They'll say, I make too much money to qualify for financial aid, and so they won't try.
Oh.
And that may be true for the need-based financial aid. Their income may be too high. But then there's merit-based, which is going to be off of whatever the school wants to award. So it may be grades, test scores, the essay, extracurricular, and they just don't know that that's there. Colleges, of course, aren't telling them that it's there. And so going after that, it's always a scholarship, a grant, or a discount. So it's always free money, and typically it's renewable for 4 years.
Are there certain areas that a student might go into that makes college money more available than other areas, or is that not a factor?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. It's a matter of what is the college, what are their best programs, what are they good at, and then looking at that.
Okay. Now, you deal with a lot of people in Southern Oregon.
I do.
Right. Do you find that you try to keep them in state? Does that keep the cost down, or do you find that other places, Wisconsin or something, might be cheaper? Yeah.
In-state schools and out-of-state schools, public and private. This business of higher education, there's competition. There's market-driven principles in higher education.
Wait, so you're saying the colleges are in competition with each other?
Absolutely.
So they may offer something to get students to come to their school?
Sure.
Wow.
We have a number of great private schools in Oregon and right across the border in Washington and California, and they know that families are price conscious, and they have to do something or do enough to bring their price down to an affordable comparison to a public school.
See, I haven't thought of that as a competition that way. I don't think that's really that much known. Now, I did a news story about how California schools are having a problem now because some Oregon schools are stealing students away.
Sure.
I think SOU was saying that's one of their biggest increases now is from California. Well, the California schools can't like that, so I imagine they might be able to do some things to keep students. And then is it like gas station wars on the corner?
I guess I actually like to make the analogy of higher education and the airline industry.
Oh, okay.
And so we know and we're conditioned that if we buy our tickets early, we're a little bit flexible in when we leave and when we come back and how many stops, and that we know there's things like that that we can do to drive that price down. And the same with higher education. I mean, we're a little bit flexible. This school would much rather have those seats filled at a discount than have them go empty altogether. And so it may be that they're discounting a little bit of tuition, or they're giving a waiver for 1 year for room and board. You know, it's the students in California, you say, their challenge is getting the classes that they need and graduating in 4 years.
Right.
And so they'd rather come up here, pay a little bit more, and be certain that they'll get out in 4 years.
You know, because the economy has been bad since, let's say, 2007 roughly, we've seen where more people are going back to college. So are there that many openings available, or is that even becoming limited now?
No, I don't. Admissions isn't a problem. Getting into college isn't a problem because that's revenue for the college. It's the
So
how
it's not
to
like
pay
they've got
for
too
it.
many, sorry,
Not
under no
really.
circumstances can you come in.
No. It's just the financial pieces and how much can a family contribute? How much can a student work during school? If we are using loans, what's a smart amount? And just pulling all those pieces together.
So you come in with an entire plan then? You try to work on the whole plan of what the student can be expected. Here's what you're going to have to do if we use plan A.
Yes.
And that kind of thing?
Yes, we do.
Do you find that works pretty well? Or I imagine there's some people who say, you know, I don't know that we can do all this. Whatever
well,
it might be.
It's better to know ahead of time than to know after the fact. So going in, we can say, okay, at this school it's going to be this much scholarships, this much loans, and we'll still need this much out of pocket. And we do that for 6 to 10 schools that meet their criteria.
That's quite a few.
So it is the families having a discussion about that, and they're learning about that. And then our numbers are based on historical averages for the college. So we have up-to-date 1-year look back of all the schools. And if their initial list is just too much for them, then they dial that down or just change it a little bit.
Now you mentioned public and private schools. One would think public schools are going to be cheaper.
One would think.
But that may not be the case?
Not necessarily.
Really?
Because of how they run their business. Okay? So a private school may have the ability to meet a higher percentage of need, give more scholarships and grants versus loans. And at a private school, your chances of graduating in 4 years are higher compared to a larger public school. At a public school, you need to expect a 5 to 6 year graduation rate to get that 4-year degree.
At a what one?
At a public.
A public school? Okay.
Right, because of number of students and funding and just different matters.
But a private school you can get done earlier, cuts down the
chances are
cost.
you may be, exactly. Right.
Wow.
And in Oregon, our room and board and our fees are higher than some of the states around us. And so that's why we can look out of state. There's the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program, which is the Western states. If you come to a college from within a member state, you get a discount. So you're not paying full out-of-state tuition.
Oh, really? And what are those states?
Montana, Wyoming, and Arizona, New Mexico, and everywhere west.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite a few states.
There's quite a few states.
That's a lot of options.
It
for sure.
is. And so you have that discount, and then you have a lower room and board cost and a lower fees, and it's going to shake out to about the same.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, $27,000 for 4 years. Is that
On
right?
a student loan, if the student uses the full.
Is there any way that we can see that number going down, or is that only going to keep going up?
No, because the government, when they want to help with college, they just seem to increase. They put more money into the system. So those loan limits went up a few years ago.
And I suppose
So
if that
no.
money more goes into it, then the colleges can raise their prices too, right?
Exactly.
So it kind of
Exactly.
feeds, which is not a
Right.
good thing.
No,
really.
no, but that's not a bad thing. What that tells a family and we tell a student, if you're going to go to college and take on that loan, you have to graduate and you have to go get a job that's going to pay at least that much.
Do you find that while the seniors in school are, yeah, we'll talk to her, it's great, that all of a sudden they realize, wow, there's a lot of responsibility I have now to make this happen for 4 years, that it becomes a shock to the system, so to speak?
Maybe initially, but then there's also a lot of relief that there are people and resources there to help them, and that their family is totally behind them. If they're
Because it does become a group dynamic then, doesn't it? I mean, everyone knows what's expected.
And it's a family decision and a family discussion. So many students just go to college because that's what they're supposed to do after high school, and they just wing it, and that is actually presents a lot of problems.
Yeah, I would think so. Do you ever have a situation where you might suggest, you know, maybe a college isn't good for you, maybe more of a technical school or some other way is better? Because I imagine that you see all sorts of different people that you talk to. Do you give them perhaps news they weren't expecting in that way?
Not the family usually comes to that awareness on their own, or they'll question. You know, it'll just we'll plant the seed or we'll have the discussion. And sometimes a student gets 3/4 of the way through their senior year, and then they want to pause, and they say, you know, I'm just not ready. Okay. That's a very mature, smart decision.
I would think to pause, that means, well, it's going to cost more too. Anytime you delay.
Well, no, they're still in high school. They haven't graduated high school yet. So they're going to just pause on that college planning
before they make
process.
a decision. Gotcha.
Maybe stay home, go to SOU for a year, those kind of things. If a student's not ready to go to college, then we don't want to send them.
Well, this is great to be thinking about this now, because the semester will be over, and you know, the next two. How do people get in touch with you?
We are actually at Cascade Christian High School tonight doing a workshop.
Oh, what time?
And 7 o'clock.
All right.
And we will cover everything admissions and financial aid related, and then otherwise on our website at mycollegeauthority.com.
All right, Cory Murphy, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Focus Today. You're on the Dove.